We have a trade. It's a huge trade as the San Diego Padres have acquired pitcher Dylan Cease from the Chicago White Sox. I don't think a whole load of people were really expecting this trade, and I can say for certain that on social media last night, when the trade was announced, certain aspects of the New York Yankees fan base were a bit taken aback by this move. However, why are the Padres making this move? They are out of contention. They've just acquired a load of prospects from the Yankees in the deal with Juan Soto, so why exactly are they making this move? And let's be honest, it must be so miserable being a White Sox fan right now. So let's not waste any time and let's talk baseball. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you may be listening. This is Let's Talk Baseball, and I'm your host, Tom Skulls. Today, we are looking at Dylan Cease to the San Diego Padres. It's a huge move that I don't really think anybody was fully expecting when the news broke earlier on. I think when the news broke, a lot of people were taken aback. They were kind of like, oh, I knew he would be on the move. I thought he would be on the move, but maybe not so much to the San Diego Padres. It was a very odd move at first glance. And my first thought was, why them? My shock wasn't that Cease had gone. I think everybody was expecting him to be dealt. And the shock came from him being moved to the Padres. And from the White Sox perspective, they, like I said on the last episode, they would have taken anything. And they got a pretty decent haul for this. They got pitcher Drew Thorpe, who arrived at the Padres as part of the Juan Soto deal. And he was kind of like the main young piece in that trade. And he's going to be another young piece for the White Sox. And that, from that point of view, I can understand that. I can understand why the San Diego Padres... I can understand, why the Chicago White Sox would do that, why they would make that trade. But I look at it and think, why the Padres? Why the Padres? Why them? Why have other teams not come in for him? You know, the strongest link was the Yankees after the Garrett Cole MRI news came out, and eventually what I think had happened there was the Chicago White Sox probably wanted a little bit too much than what the Yankees were happy to give up for Cease. But I look at Cease and I think, okay, well, you have a pitcher here who has 2 years of team control. He is under team control for this season and next, and he's making $8 million in the 2024 season. From a contractual point of view and a financial point of view, he makes a ton of sense. He makes so much sense because if you're a team like the San Diego Padres who don't really want to add more money to your payroll but still want to have decent pitching and quality players, he's a player that you can have. My opinion and my theory about this is they have acquired Dylan Cease and his very friendly team contract with the idea of doing one thing with him. He'll pitch this year and he'll be flipped next year before his contract is up. There is very little chance that they actually extend this guy because that's just not what the San Diego Padres now are looking to do with the amount of money they have on their payroll. They're not going to be wanting to look to extend another guy. So they have now traded for a guy with 2 years of team-controlled years, relatively cheap, in terms of the money he'll be making, and if he continues on the trajectory that he's been showing and following the footsteps of Blake Snell, who won the Cy Young over in San Diego, then this time next year, or at the trade deadline next season, he's going to be an incredibly attractive proposition for a lot of teams. They might do what they did with Juan Soto this summer, and next off-season, and just before the 2025 season, they might deal him then. And that just makes sense from a Padres point of view. You still get a top quality pitcher who can keep you competitive, but also with the option to be able to, help the team out when needed. When the time comes and you need to trade him away for somebody, he's going to be there. He's going to be your guy. He's going to be the guy that you get rid of. And I know that sounds quite cynical, but that was how I decided to look at this bit of news that came out from San Diego, because that's how I saw it. That's how I saw it made sense. They're not going to be competing. If you'd gone to a team like the Yankees, or even a team like, off the top of my head, the Rangers, for example, they're adding to already good teams who are looking to compete. In the Rangers' case, defend the World Series, and in the Yankees' case, win the World Series or challenge for it at the very least. With the San Diego Padres, they're probably not going to finish fourth in their division. They're behind the Dodgers, they're behind the Diamondbacks. They'll be competing for third and fourth with the San Francisco Giants. The Rockies, no, let's not go down that path. But that's the confusion I had with it. The confusion initially was, here's this guy who is outrageously talented and wanted by a lot of teams, but has been dealt to a team that probably isn't going to be in contention anytime soon. And then you realise, you can then flip him at a later point for more prospects, and then who knows how your half rebuild is going. So from the San Diego point of view, that makes a lot of sense. From a White Sox point of view, we'll get onto that in a minute. I just want to point out, I've just read on the ESPN report about this deal. I know I've said they're not in contention, but he'll be in a rotation with Yu Darvish. He'll probably be towards the top of this rotation. It'll be Dylan Cease, Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove, Michael King, and probably Matt Waldron as your fifth starter. I've said on this before, I'm a huge fan of Michael King. I thought he was an exceptional player when he showed it in bursts last season for the Yankees, and I was disappointed that he was let go, but ultimately understood it for the Juan Soto trade. And I think he's going to slot in perfectly there as a fourth starter. I'm looking at that rotation, and I'm thinking, maybe the light's done it again. The light has done it again. I looked at it and thought, maybe he's going to be okay. Maybe he'll be fine. Maybe Cease will fit in, and maybe that rotation is going to surprise an awful lot of people, because that is exactly what would happen. That's exactly what would happen when I've just said that they're not going to be in contention, they're not going to do anything, it's going to be terrible, blah, 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 all of that kind of stuff. And then what happens? That was to happen. That would happen, and that would make so much sense. But I'm talking myself into that rotation. I'm looking at that rotation going, hey, you know what? It's not that bad. It's not that bad. And then you remind yourself they've still got Manny Machado. They've still got Fernando Tatis Jr. They've still got Xander Bogaerts. They've still got good players in that lineup. Admittedly, I think the National League West is just so competitive that they'll be challenging for third at maximum. But that's what it makes sense for them. So if they want to do it, they can do it. But from a White Sox point of view, you get more prospects, and I said it at the start of the show. If you're a White Sox fan, it must be so miserable. It must be so miserable because you've got players who have come through this team who are fantastic players. Jose Abreu, for example. Dylan Cease is now another one who's just gone, and you've got nothing to show for it. Like, yeah, you've got some prospects out of this, and that's fine. But I'm reading on SouthsideShowdown.com. One of the lines from a piece that says about it is, something else we know is that moving Cease now shifts the White Sox from an organisation that was only going to be going through a short reset to one that is more firmly considering a rebuilding project. To some, that may just be semantics, but it matters when it comes to the future. No longer should Luis Robert Jr. be considered safe from trade rumours. Cease wasn't a guy that was entering his last year of his deal, but instead was a really good player who had 2 full years left before he was slated to hit free agency. With Robert Jr. having club options for 2025 and 26, it is fair to wonder if he could be on the trading block next. More than that, though, is that now there is little to no chance at the White Sox immediately switch gears back to trying to contend anytime soon. Between the trade deadline sell-off and now Cease leaving town, it is hard to envision a version of the White Sox roster that can actually contend without at least 3 or 4 years of player development and acquisitions. That may be what is best for the organisation in the long-term point, but that doesn't make today feel much better for White Sox fans who just had to watch another key player leave. Now, I pride myself looking at that could have gone a different way. There's no Nick Castellanos home runs here, but I pride myself on knowing enough about each team to have a grasp on how people feel and how fan bases feel at certain points in time. And with this one, I remember I tweeted it last night and I just thought to myself, why are White Sox fans just not completely up in arms about this? And then there was that realisation of, because they're used to this, because this is what they know and this is what they're familiar with, another player leaving, another player off to do something else and be a star somewhere else. And it must be really disheartening. And it must be, when you have your mindset on a couple of, maybe a short-term, as the piece said, a short-term reset to now a long-term 3 to 4 to 5 year period of just rebuilding, that anybody that is worth anything to the organisation can be just got rid of, and it can be moved on to a different location for, and it'll be under the argument of prospects. They've got prospects, and it's like there's only so much prospect can do. There's only so much prospects can do, and there's only so much drafting can do. And you just, I feel for them. I really feel for the fans of Chicago White Sox, because they've not really done anything. Nothing's happened. Nothing's gone wrong for them. And it's like, let's have a look at their roster. Let's have a look at their active roster. Go through it. There's no one on that pitching staff that makes you go, wow, that's a player. Martin Maldonado is your catcher. You got Paul DeJong there, Yohan Moncada, Andrew Benintendi's there. Eloy Jimenez is your designated hitter. Luis Robert is there. Robert's gone. And Andrew Benintendi was a free agent signing. He's not going to be moved anytime soon, because when he was last moved on from someone, he went to the Yankees and wasn't deemed to be worth what they had paid for him. And I really do feel for them. I really feel for them, because you have to go. You just go through that roster and go, I don't know where the star is coming from there. I don't know where the main picture is coming from all of this. And it's like, some of us are blessed with having teams who are regularly in contention. Some of us are blessed with seeing teams regularly compete, regularly produce good players either from their farm system or have enough in the bank to be able to sign free agents or trade for stars, like we've seen with the Dodgers, like we've seen with the Yankees. We've seen it with the Astros in previous years of when the time is right, they will make the big moves. With the White Sox, I can't see where that's going to come from, because there's no kind of thought that they're going to do anything meaningful anytime soon. And as a fan, that must be terrible. That must be terrible to look at. And it's like, yeah, the prospects are talented. Drew Thorpe is a very good pitcher, but we don't know when, and we don't know if he's going to be a very good pitcher in the major leagues. I don't know. I just think it's terrible. I think it's terrible for them, and especially when you look at, if you're another team that was dealing for Cease or wanted Cease, and the White Sox have been asking for all of these things, and they settle on this from the White Sox, you must be looking at this and thinking, okay, well, what the White Sox wanted from the Yankees and the Orioles, for example, was probably too much, and they didn't want to give that up. And I get that. We were talking about this on the episode yesterday when we posted about it, that Spencer Jones was tipped to be part of a package for season. That's just not going to happen. It's a no-go zone for them. They're not going to do it, and I completely understand why they wouldn't want to do it, because he's a top player in the Yankees system. They're not going to get rid of him for, with all due respect, Dylan Cease. They didn't even want to get rid of him for Juan Soto. So yet again, with all due respect for Dylan Cease, if they're not going to get rid of Spencer Jones for Juan Soto, they're not going to get rid of Spencer Jones for Dylan Cease. If for all these other teams that wanted him, if you're the New York Yankees, as we spoke about yesterday, that I said that the move for them would have been to trade for Cease because the package might not have been too heavy if you kept negotiating. Less than 10 hours later, he's dealt to a different team. Brilliant. But if you're another team that was looking for pitching, you've still got two top guys out there, and there's still pitching trades to be had. You just need to be a bit creative with them. And I think what this Cease trade does is might accelerate people in what they want from their pitching. Now that one option is off the table, does Brian Cashman go and do something else? I don't know. What do the Orioles do? I think the Orioles starting pitching needs some looking at to an extent. I know they got Corbin Burns, but you can never. Pitching wins everything, and you can never have too much. And that might be the road they go down. Offensively, they're sorted for the next couple of years, provided they pay the extensions of these guys, and then they might surprise everybody and bring a big name in. Pitching wise, they might make a smaller trade and work with that guy. There's so much that could be done, and this Cease trade, I think, just accelerates it for a lot of people. And I think it's interesting to see what happens here from the rest of the league and how much of an impact this has. Because if this has a huge impact, then it might force other teams into signing Blake Snell, into signing Jordan Montgomery. Even if teams that weren't into them initially are like, God, because the point I mean is, no one really expected the San Diego Padres to be involved in the Dylan Cease trade. So there might be someone else that's coming around that were like, okay, we were waiting on this to happen. This can't happen anymore, so we're going to move in this direction. I think if you're a team that has already been linked with these players, the Angels, the Giants, the Yankees, the Rangers, etc., on and on and on and on and on, I don't know how much this move changes your opinion on how fast you need to do things. But then if you're a team that was on the periphery, that was kind of like waiting and hanging around to see what was happening, then does this change how you react? Do you have to act faster now? Because you might miss out on a surprise team that no one expected to happen. If you're the Red Sox, who everybody assumes is going to sign Jordan Montgomery at some point, are you now rushed into action because you think someone else might get him? Who knows? But this is a good trade for the Padres. I think it's a very good trade. I think it makes the National League West just that little bit better, because they needed that help, of course. I still think they'll be battling third and fourth with the Giants, but it's better than battling for the final spot with the Rockies, which the doom and gloom around that place has kind of been what was expected. But no, really good trade for them. I feel for the Chicago White Sox fans. This is just a quick chat about that particular trade, because just my luck that I post a video relatively similar to this, and then a couple of hours later it changes it and I have to do it all again, or a similar thing all again. So this is just a quick 20-minute pop-in episode. Thank you for listening. If you're listening to the audio version, there will be a song playing us out. Haven't figured it out just yet, but if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a good day. See you soon.